So let us see the next concept, the most powerful feature, most frequently used feature, most unique feature available in Excel called as pivot table. So now we are going to create a report using this pivot table. You can see there is a column available: region, segment, part number, application, Q1 quantity, Q2 quantity, Q3 quantity, Q4 quantity and year quantity. Based on this, now we are going to create a report. I want to know what is the sum of Q1 and Q2 and Q3 and Q4 and year quantity based on region wise and segment wise. Region wise and segment wise, we have to find out sum of all these 5 columns. Before that, no merged cell in between. The table should have a heading should be unique. So let me place the cursor on the table and I go to the tab called as insert. On the tab of insert, you can see the first option itself available called as pivot table. So let me click on the pivot table. I click on the pivot table. If I click on the pivot table, it opens a new dialog box and it's asking where is your data, whether your data is in Excel or in an external data source, some other external data source. My data is in Excel, so let me select the first one. And where you want to place the pivot table, where you want to put the report, new sheet or existing sheet. If I select new sheet, it automatically creates a new sheet before the current sheet and it will create a report. Existing sheet means existing sheet, that is you have to say the location and where you want to put this report. The same sheet where you want to put the report. But I want it in a new sheet, so let me select new sheet. And this data model, add this data to the data model, where you can analyze the multiple tables using the concept called as Power Pivot, which we will see it in the later sessions. Now let me put it on the new sheet. I am selecting new sheet and I say OK. As I told you, can see it has created a new sheet in the name of sheet 1. And maybe for the first time on the top, you can see the two contextual tabs available. One in the name of analyze, another one in the name of design. So we'll see how to use this analyze and design. On the left hand side, this is the area where we are going to construct or where we are going to build the pivot table. On the right hand side, you can see these are all the field lists available. These are all the field lists available on your original table. So region, segment, part number, application, Q1 quantity, Q2 quantity, Q3 quantity and year quantities. And filter. So we'll see how to use the filter. Maybe in the next session we'll see how to use the filter. One click you can create hundreds of report. On the right hand side, you can see the column wise is available and row wise is available. How do you want to create a report, whether column wise or a row wise? When can we use the column wise? Is when you are going to compare the data. This column wise can be used for comparing. So if you want to compare some data, this can be used for comparison. So majorly comparing the data can be used for this column wise. And if you want to create a normal table, then we can use the row label. And sigma values, the sigma values is for the summarizations. So now I want to create a report region wise, segment wise. I want to find out what is the sum of Q1, Q2, Q3 and the year quantities total. Region wise and segment wise. What all I am saying wise, region wise and segment wise. So let me drag that region. It's always better to drag and drop this. Let me drag that region and drop it to the row label. So now we can see on the left hand side it's constructing the report. These are all the regions: central region, east region, north region, south region, west region. Under the regions, I want to know the segment wise also. Let me drag the segment once again and I am dropping into the row label. So it shows these are all the regions. Under this region, these are all the segments available. Now I want sum of Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 and year quantity. So let me drag that Q1 quantity to the sigma because I want to find out the sum. So you can drag and drop this. First time drag and drop this, second time it's better to check mark here. So I can check here Q2, Q3, Q4 and year quantity. That's all. It has created a report region wise, segment wise, what is the sum of Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 and year quantities. But I have created a report, that's fine, but I am not satisfied with the view of the report. The reason why I am not satisfied with the view of the report is you can see it displays the total on the top and the data on the bottom. And you can see the region and segment is in the same column. I want to put it in a different column. So before that, you have to place the cursor on the table. So what will happen if you are not placing the cursor on the table? Suppose I am placing it outside the table. You can see on the top the analyze and designs will be hidden. So let me place it on the table. And even you can see on the right hand side the field list is also not available. So let me place the cursor on the table. Now let me go to the tab called as design. If I go to the tab of design, you can see the first two options, subtotal. So let me click on the subtotal. And you know what is the option I am going to select here? Show all the subtotal at the bottom of the group. If I click on this, now you can see the subtotal will be displayed on the bottom of the group. For some reasons, assume if you don't want the grand total, I don't want the grand total. So let me go to the grand total. I don't want the grand total means even you can switch off the grand total also. But if you don't want it, but I recommend you to have the grand total. So let me switch on the grand total. So the grand total is displayed on the bottom. and then as I told, the region and segment is in the same column. I want to put it in a different columns. Always I prefer to put all my reports on a tabular form. Let's go to the report layout and I can say show in tabular form. Now you can see the region in a separate column and the segment in a separate column, maybe the classical way of pivot table. So now here I can understand the central 1 PC belongs to the central region, 2 UV belongs to the central region, 3 LC belongs to the central region. Rather than that, I want the central has to be repeated, or east has to be repeated. In olden days it's very tough, but in the latest version after 2010 you can go to the report layout. Under the report layout, let me select the fourth one, repeat all item label. That's all. You can see the central is repeated, east is repeated. Now after each region, after the central region I want a line, after the east region I want a line, after the north region I want a blank line to have a better way of reporting. So let me go to the blank rows. Under the blank rows I say insert the blank line after each item. You can see after each item is completed it will give a blank line. If you don't want this, you can remove the blank rows also. I can go to the blank rows and I can say remove the blank after a line after each item. And this row header, what is this row header? You can see the central is a little bit bolder. I don't want it, I want it as a normal way, so you can uncheck the row header. Similarly the column header, this one region segment is in bolder. If you don't want it, you can uncheck this column header, but I believe I prefer to have the column headers. Banded rows means all the alternative rows, each rows one by one, 1, 3, 5 and 7 will be banded, so that when you take a printout, very easily you can identify which records belongs to which one. So if you prefer to take a printout, so then you can use the banded rows, but now I don't want it, means I can uncheck it. Similarly the banded columns, but actually I don't prefer the banded columns, so I am unchecking it, and I can put a different colors and backgrounds and formatting. Let us go to the design and you can go to the pivot table styles more button, where you can see different colors and backgrounds and formattings are available. Let us select the background formatting. If you are not satisfied with the background and formatting also, you can go to the new pivot table styles, where we can design our own formatting, how the heading should be, how the subheadings, how the first row should be, how the second row, how the header should be available. You can select it and you can go to the format and you can apply the format. But as of now, I believe I will select some other designs available here. Let me select a meaningful, some good design, maybe the blue color. So you can see now region wise, segment wise, sum of Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 and year quantity is available. Now the later stage I changed my mind. I don't want the sum of year quantity. Instead of sum, I want to make it as an average, or I want to make it as a count, or maximum or minimum. So let me make it as a right click here on sum of year quantity, and I can go to the summarize value by. After making right click, the summarize value by is available, and you can change your formula. Suppose I want to change it as a count, so let me put it as count here. So where you can see the entire column will change into one count. That's perfect. But now I want the count is available, but I want the sum also here. So what we can do is, it's very simple. You can drag the year quantity and you can drop it to the sigma wherever you want, maybe at the last, maybe at the before. So wherever you want, you can drag and drop this. So the count is available and the sum is also available. Now I want the average also. So you can make a right click, or another method, either you can make a right click and you can go to the summarize value by and you can say it as average, method number 1, or else you can go to the analyze. Under the analyze also you can change your formulas and functions, but let me prefer to go to the right click and I go to the under analyze, you can go to the field settings. Under field settings you can change your formulas and functions also. This is another method, but I prefer to go with right click. So right click and I can go to the summarize value by and I can put it as average. So count and average is available, and once again assume I want the sum also. So once again I can drag and drop and I can find out the sum. Suppose I am dropping somewhere else here, so now I can interchange my columns also. For example, I want the average before the count. So let me go to this average and go to the bottommost rightmost column, maybe the mid of my cell, maybe the cell where it's showing the average. You can drag and drop and you can place it wherever you want. You can exchange your columns, you can rechange your columns also. Now you can see the average is available, then we can see the count, then we can see the sum. Now assume I want to convert this into a percentage format. Out of 100%, I want to know what is the percentage in central region, what is the percentage in east, and what is the percentage in north. So let me make a right click on this and I can go to the show value as. If you go to the show value as, you can see the percentage of grand total, percentage of column total is available. Assume I am going to select an option called as percentage of grand total. So now you can see out of 100 percentage, what is the percentage in central region, what is the percentage in east region, what is the percentage in north region. But the problem is here the heading will not change. If I changing the sum into average, the heading will change. Sum into count, the heading will change. The show value as the heading will not change. You have to change the headings manually. Just go there and type the headings where the headings will change here. So now I want the sum also, so you know it. So you can track the year quantity and bring it to the last. So it's showing the sum also here. So this percentage which is showing overall, if it is 100 percentage, it is showing the central region what is the percentage. Under the central region 1 PC what is the percentage. But what I want to know is, if the central region is 100 percentage, what is the percentage of 1 PC and 2 UV and 3 LC. So what we can do is, once again I can make a right click on the sum of year quantity and I can go to the show value as. On the show value as, you can see there is an option called as percentage of parent total. So if you click on the percentage of parent total, you can see it says for which you want it. I want the region wise. Yes, I say okay. That's all. So if the central region is 100 percentage, what is the distribution of 1 PC, 2 UV and 3 LC? So this one is percentage of parent total. So this is a new option available after 2010. Now I want the sum of year quantity once again. So you can drag this and you can drop it here wherever you want. So like this, you can add any number of columns, you can change any formulas here also. Even if you want to create your own formulas, for example, I want to put the sum of year quantity and sum of Q1 and sum of Q2 put together, what is my total? So I want to create my own formulas. How do we create our own formulas? Is go to the Analyze tab. If you go to the Analyze tab, on the Analyze tab you can see the field items and sets is available. Click on the field items and sets and you can see the first option, calculated field. So let me click on the calculated field and it opens a dialog box and asking what is the name of this calculated field. So let me give a name. For example, I am putting it as half-yearly because it was sum of Q1 and Q2 put together. So half-yearly. And what is your formula? I am deleting this 0. So either you can type this Q1 quantity, but rather than typing, I prefer to select it. So I can click and you can insert the field, one method. So I want Q1 plus, so let me type a plus, and Q2. Rather than clicking and insert field, I can make a double click also. So I have written a very simple formula, Q1 and Q2 put together, what is my total? So now let me click on add and simply I click on OK. So now you can see it has inserted a column called as sum of half-yearly, which is finding Q1 and Q2 put together, what is my total. But I want the sum of half-yearly after this Q2, so you know how to do it. Go to the corner and you can drag it and you can drop it after this Q2. So where you can see the column has changed here. So like this, you can change your formulas, you can change your functions, you can create your own formulas and your own functions also. But the problem is, if you want to change the data inside the pivot table, I am trying to change the data inside the pivot table. Unfortunately, it's giving an error, cannot change this part of the pivot table report because your pivot table is protected. So if you want to change the data, you have to go to the source and you have to change it. So let me go to the source. I am going to the sheet number 14. And for an example, the central 1 PC, let me check here on the source on the pivot table, central 1 PC, the total is 4400. So let me go to the sheet number 14. I think it's available in the row number 7 and 8. You can see central 1 PC 500 plus 3900. This two put together, it's giving 4400. But let me change it. Instead of 500, assume I'm changing this into 600. So now the total should be actually, if I select 600 and 3900, the total should be 4400 on my pivot table. So let me go back to the pivot table and I'm checking whether my data is updated. Unfortunately, it will not update. So whenever you make some changes on the source, so what we have to do it on the pivot table is either you have to go to the Analyze. Under the Analyze, you can see the refresh button is available. You can click on the refresh, or else you can make a right click on the pivot table and you can see the refresh is available, or else even you can use the shortcut key for refreshing your pivot table. The shortcut key is Alt plus F5. Alt F5 will be the shortcut key for refreshing the pivot table. So you can use either one of it. So let me press Alt F5. Now I can note this. You can see the pivot table, the data has been updated. So whenever you make the changes on your source, remember to refresh your pivot table. What happens if I am not refreshing the pivot table? I want the pivot table to be refreshed automatically. So let us make a right click on the pivot table and I go to the last but one, the pivot table options. On the pivot table option, let me go to the last but one, data. On the data, you can see there is a checkbox available, refresh data when opening the file. If I select this refresh data when opening the file and I say OK here, so now my pivot table will be refreshed whenever you open the file. But the pivot table will be refreshed whenever you change the data in my source. But what happens if I add a new record at the last? If I add a new record at the last, the pivot table will not be updated. What is the solution for it? So we'll see this in our next chapter.